Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's June 17th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And I did roll over to the September contract this week today. This is a September contract. There's not really any volume left in the. People ask me that all the time. I generally do not roll over the first day because the first day you will generally still have more volume in the current contract than you will in the next contract. So it's usually the day after, or maybe even it's usually on. I believe rollover is always on Thursdays. I believe that's right. So I think it's usually on Fridays or Mondays before I roll over. So it just depends on what the volume's like. What I'll do is on rollover day, I'll open up both contracts and I'll just watch them both until you see that the volume switched over, and then I'll switch over. So, and that tends to be the easiest way and the only way to be sure about it. So anyway, not many trades today. Real quiet kind of range day. You can see the overnight lows here, overnight highs. We got just slightly below the overnight lows right in here, and we traded back up in, and actually we traded down to that a little bit lower again, and then we bounced yet again. So um, you'll see a lot of this on rollover days, rollover periods, because everybody's busy switching from the bigger contracts or from the older contracts to the newer contracts. So, and your bigger traders, they can't do it all in one day, so they'll start doing it. You know, it'll take them a week or two to roll over. So, because if they did it all in one day, it would have, the market would go nuts and they'd lose a lot of money. And so generally, it takes them a little while to move over. But I'll usually move over, like I said, within a couple of days or so. But anyway, let's talk about the few trades there are here. Really, from about a little bit before 9 until after lunch, I don't see anything in here. I just don't see anything that looks appealing to me. We were going in these little ranges, then we'd shoot up and go in another little range, shoot up, go in a range, shoot down, shoot up, going. We're mostly in these little ranges, and so it's when they get real tight, they get harder to trade. There's a few trades in here, but anyway, let's back out a little more where you can see a little better, and we'll talk about the trades. It won't take long today because there's not many. 7 o'clock came right in here. I believe it was actually, I think it was right up through here. But notice you had a little double top here, and you came back and you tested that again. So you made this high, you test it once, you test it twice, and you got a nice bearish bar right here. I like going short right there, even though it's a first entry. I like going short right there. If this would have broke higher and turned back down, I wouldn't have had a problem adding on here, and you could have even entered here, because it's almost like it's basically a form of a second entry because it made a little 2-bar matching low there. You could, even though it didn't break higher, you can still look at that as a higher low. So if it breaks below that, it could be considered a second entry. It's not an ideal setup, but in trading, nothing's ever perfect, and so sometimes you go with what you see. And if it looks like a pattern and acts like a pattern, it'll probably follow through like a pattern. So, but I like this one for sure, just because it's a double test. And even if you'd have used this one, I probably would have let it break lower and drop my limit order 1 tick below this bar. So it's really basically the same entry. Then notice we move down. We try to come back once. We try to come back twice. And you get a little second entry short here. Normally, I'd say that's not a very good second entry short because it's not a good signal bar, but with that failed second entry long and a little double top right there, I don't have a problem going short there. That's another nice little easy move, and generally you'll get 2 legs down. So you got a break here of this 2-tiered channel. You got the break right here, and you got 1 leg down, a little 2-legged correction, and another leg down, and then we reversed out of there. Had a little problem reversing out. Notice you made a new low, and then you got a first entry and you got a second entry, And that's a failed second entry short, but everything's still below the EMA, and we've been trending down, and this is more sideways than it really is um, a reversal type pattern. So I just kind of sit tight, and when you get that failed breakout that fails and gives you that bearish bar, you may go short there, which was good for a quick short, as long as you got room to get out here, because you do have this double bottom. I'd want room to get out. Um, you just barely get enough to scalp out there, and then it reverses again, and now you've got this low. You test it once, you test it twice, you got a fairly bullish bar, and you broke out up here already. I like that one. Plus it really kind of confirms that trend line right there if you drew it off those first two, although there's not a whole lot of upward slope. I'd really consider this more of your confirmation over here. So but anyway, it takes on off. You get another failed second entry short here, but you just came off the high of what looks like a two-tiered channel. So I'd want at least some kind of second entry setup or something. You do get a higher low here, and that you could consider that a second entry, but that doesn't leave you much room. So I just kind of sit tight, and of course it comes all the way back, drops out down here. Unfortunately, you don't get a very good signal bar here. If you had a good signal bar here on your chart, I like going long there. And unfortunately, I get a very bearish bar and then an inside bar. And so you could consider that a failed break lower, but still you'd want a better signal bar than that. And you just don't get it on my chart. So, hopefully maybe some of y'all had a little better setup there, because that's a nice move. That's probably the move of the day, really. Runs up, and then we just start kind of going sideways again. I don't see anything in here that I really like. I think you just have to kind of sit tight here. And then it drops out. There's a possibility of going short here, but this looks like a real tight channel working down. Maybe it's two-tiered, maybe it's not. But it's a little dangerous going short right there, that close to the lower side. But if you had a little better setup, I mean, that's one you could argue for, because it is you basically could argue for that as a failed second entry long as well. I'm going to go ahead and mark it green. I'm not crazy about it. You might have had a little different setup, but notice that eye, and you try to go higher once. You really get a little double swing in there, but that's really all one move. And then you get a second leg down and a second attempt to go higher that fails. And it does confirm that trend line. I wouldn't, if you didn't go short here, once this came back up, I don't think I'd go short here, because this might come back up right over again and take off the other direction or something. You do have a nice signal bar right here. It's a little bit away from the EMA, but you can see that trend line is holding, and you can see it holding right there. We actually gapped over it. So it would have come back long enough probably for you to get an order in there to get long. I just don't think I'd go long there. You could argue for that one to be green, but I'm not crazy about it. But we run up here and we just start going sideways. But notice we made that low. We tested it once, we tested it twice, and it actually breaks a little lower here. Turns and goes out the other side, creates a nice bullish bar. I like going long right there. If I would have liked it better if you had a real small bar down here with enough room to get out. But just the fact that this went lower and then turned and went right out the other side of the other bar, and you've got one leg up, you're probably going to get another leg up here at a minimum. And you could go all the way to test the overnight highs, which are way up here. So so I like that trade. Like I said, at a very minimum, you would expect it to probably make this measure move, but you see we went a little further than that. And then of course you did get a break here in a new high, and you actually get a lower high right here that breaks higher and turns and goes out the other side. It's a little close to that EMA, so this one is, you could almost argue for that to be green, but we've had a lot of resistance across there, and this is a lower high, and so you're looking for prices really to come back to test this breakout here. Notice how we broke through there and haven't tested it yet, and it looks like that's what we're going to do, and then it actually gives you a failed second entry long, confirms that trend line, and it takes off lower again, and that's the last trade of the day, and that was a pretty good entry too. So but yeah, This one you have to be careful about it coming back. But you had to figure it was coming back to here. And if you had enough room there, I'd be okay entering there because we never tested this breakout. It actually worked back over into this trend. You can see that resistance right there. And you can see where it does come back and finds a little support there. And then it quickly fails and turns back down again. But yeah, that was, just not much happening today. I mean, we may be going into the summer doldrums here where it kind of gets quiet like this. Some of this probably has to do with the rollover period. So, I talked about it slow, having a couple of slow days there a week or so ago, and then it picked up again. The volatility got real high again. So this market is spooky, I believe. We are back near 2,900 again. We're right at that century mark. So this market seems to get spooky at those levels. So anyway, okay, had a little interruption there, but we were just wrapping it up. There's not much else you can say about today. It's just a quiet kind of range day, and we might get some of these going forward here, going into the summer. I believe it was last summer. It was just market almost died. It seemed like for a month or so there. A lot of people taking vacations, schools out, and a lot of different things affect the market over the summers that make it a little quieter than normal. So that's to be expected and nothing unusual. So use it for a chance to get a break yourself. That's what I like to do. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Hope you had a good trading day. What was out there, again, it wasn't much to choose from today. So if you struggled, there just wasn't much there. So and that's where most new people really have a hard time and mess up the most, because they're struggling to find a trade and then they force one. So just understand there are going to be days where the market's just kind of choppy like this, and it's not really trending a whole lot, and it's not really going anywhere, and it does a lot of little fake outs and so forth. And so for you almost have to forget about failed second entries and second entries and all that. Of course, those are still important, but you want them to show up in the right place, in the reversal type areas where we're coming off the lows like down here, or coming off the highs like up here. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.